into episode 48 of the Matt and Matt O Scale Trainz podcast. I am one of your hosts, Matt Rochford, and with me, as always, from some planet out there in the universe, are my co-hosts. Co-hosts, sound off.
Matt Suzuha.
And Johnny Nugent.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing pretty good. I can't complain, you know. It's a good old, what's this, late August we're doing this one?
Yeah.
Getting closer and closer to the fall in York and whatever, but it'll be a good old time tonight. I'm excited.
I'm lost. I took a left by Pluto and I don't know where I am. Help.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm good. I'm excited about tonight's episode. Anything new with you guys before we get started?
I've been buying too many trains, but you know, what else is new, right?
You and I traded for a new train recently, Matt.
We did. That's right. The cinematic photos that you've been putting out there on Facebook and Discord, dude, amazing, man.
Oh, I appreciate it, dude. I'm happy to be working on the layout after, oh goodness, like over a year now of just having it being idle, and really inspired by watching you do all your streaming work on your layout. Yours has been great. Your new farm scene has just been absolutely amazing. I love it.
The farm scene I spent like 8 hours on that corner. I spent more hours in that corner than I think I've spent total on my whole layout, just doing anything. Like, I got to get this corner right. After that, everything is just gravy.
It's crazy to think it used to be a Starbucks too.
Yeah. Well, we're going backwards now. Like, we're tearing down Starbucks and we're putting up farmhouses.
No, wait. Hold on a minute now. You're telling me you could cut this part. I don't care. Leave it. I don't care. Whatever. You're telling me that you got rid of that Starbucks and haven't sold it to me? No, I mean, I'm being serious. I thought you were going to keep that.
No, it did. It just moved to the middle of town.
Okay. All right. Good.
So that Starbucks is a different location. It's just instead of that location now, instead of selling, lattes, they sell cow pats.
Fresh homemade cow pies. Get them while they're hot. So that's kind of unappetizing to hear. But
I hope no listeners are eating right now.
Yeah, that would suck.
Yeah.
But let's let progress though.
All right. Well, let's get to it. Let me go down our maintenance list here. So, as always, folks, you can listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon Music, and a slew of other social podcasting sites that are out there. If you can find one, we're probably on it. So, of course, I always want to mention our Discord server, which now has over 100. Actually, I think we're at 180 now. I think we're actually getting close to 200 people on our server. That is awesome. Now, this is a public Discord, so anyone can join. All you have to do is acknowledge that you read the rules, check a box, says I'm a good person, and you're in, talking to people, posting photos, posting videos, trading secrets about, building farms on your layout, all kinds of stuff. Now, there's a link to the Discord in the show notes. All you have to do is click it. It's free, doesn't cost anything. I know Chris, RBP Chris is in there. Chris is Trainz and Things. Our good friend Jason, JD Sucks, is in there as well. So, if you're interested in, getting a chance to talk with these folks, come into our server because they are there sometimes. So, and they do post.
Can't forget Sid.
Yeah, Sid too. Yep. Yeah. I mean, there's so many. Like, it's hard to list them all here, but I mean, there is a lot of great people in our Discord server, and I think that's the point I was trying to make. Is there's great people to talk to and chat with. We have a great moderator team. They keep everyone safe and make sure we're all treated with respect. So. If you have any questions, just reach out to us. We also have a new URL that's available. You can find us quickly on the web. It's www.m&mpodcast.com. That's www.podcast.com. And it'll take you right to our episode site, and you can listen to the episodes right there, right from that URL. And then lastly, our merchandise. So we have teamed up with redbubble.com, and we offer all kinds of merchandise with our logos on it. Before we start, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor, Trainz.com. If you are looking for a great deal on used and new model railroading products and want top-notch service, then please head over to Trainz.com, where they have over 120,000 products with new ones added every day. You can also sign up for their newsletter to see newly listed and newly discounted products and receive advance notice of upcoming promotions. Now, I've been using Trainz.com myself as well as my co-hosts, and we highly recommend them to our listeners.
Now, if you're like us and you're always on the lookout for your next engine, join the Trainz Rewards program to earn points on every purchase and unlock future discounts. And if you're an avid collector and want first dibs on new items, sign up for the private card membership to get early access to new listings, earn 5 points per dollar spent, and unlock great benefits like no questions asked returns.
Now, guys, don't forget that you'll need parts to keep your engines and cars operating smoothly. And to do this, Trainz has a collection of 15,000 plus parts available on their website for any item you may need. And also, if you're interested in downsizing your collection or know someone who is unfortunately leaving the hobby, Trainz also buys collections. So head over to sellmytrainz.com to get a quote. And Trainz makes it easy to sell your collection.
Now, if you do plan on buying from them, please use our affiliate link, which is www.trainz.com/MMOP. You can also use our unique one-time promo code, MMOP, for $10 off a single purchase on the Trainz.com website. All right, now let's talk about tonight's episode. So tonight we'll be talking about the pros and cons of buying engines, rolling stock, and other model railroading items. So each of us has made a list of the pros and cons. Now, these could be personal reasons. These could just be, what we think the industry is trending toward as far as like the pros and cons of buying new and buying used. Each of us will pick one category. We'll discuss it, what each of us thought, and then we'll obviously move on to the next category just to kind of keep things moving. But we do want to discuss kind of what we had in common, what we didn't have in common, some additional thoughts, and then we'll just, again, we'll keep things going. So, all right. Well, you know what? Without further ado, Matt or Johnny, do you guys have anything before we start?
Let's go.
Let's do it.
Okay. I'm actually going to call somebody out. I'm going to call you out, Johnny, and I want you to tell us what your pros are for buying new.
Ooh, okay. I'm taking the hot seat. All right.
Yep.
So when it comes to buying Trainz new, so I'm relatively new to this. So I haven't bought many new items in the hobby until recently. But some of the new items that for pros, when buying new items, new features are definitely a big one. So things like voice control or Bluetooth with things such as 5 different bells or whistles, like new features is definitely one. With things moving forward, especially with Lionel, new toolings are also a plus for me. Seeing engines we've never seen before. I think the Brass Challenger is a great example of that, or Strasbourg 90, things people have wanted for many, many years and finally getting to see them. So that is something that's really cool with buying new, something you don't get from buying used. It also helps the industry, kind of keeps the hobby going, helps Lionel, MTH, Atlas, all those manufacturers stay in business and help to see more things added to the hobby. Don't usually have to worry about missing parts. Usually the parts are already there. So you get the ever wonderful new train smell or the new box smell that I know Matt Z loves so much. And you get a box. You get a box and it's not missing. You get a brand new shipper. Matt Z loves it so much.
I say shipper, first of all. I mean, come on. Let's go.
Exactly. And to kind of round up my list, it's also just the hype, with new catalogs, and you see the new catalogs or the hype of waiting for the train, and it finally shows up at your doorstep, and you've been waiting for about a year, and it shows up your doorstep, and you're like, it's finally here, and you get to unbox it and enjoy it for the first time. So those are mine. I'll pass the mic over to Matt R. How about you? What are your pros?
All right. So I think we shared a good number of them. There might be one that I think the one that stands apart for me is you get a warranty, right? So you buy something new, you're going to get at least 365 days of, if this thing blows up or something goes wrong, I have a chance to return it, get it fixed, get a replacement, or maybe even get your money back depending on where you buy it. So that was one of those on my list. Being the first to run it, right? So there's a new model out and it's never been done before. I think that kind of falls under your like experience, like new tooling, a new model, like you said, Johnny. And then one other thing that I had thought about is that maybe, and I don't know if this is technically a pro, but maybe the model isn't available used, right? So a lot of times either it's something that's brand spanking new, or maybe they're redoing a model that hasn't been done in a long time and you're unable to find that model in the third party market, right? So that would definitely be a pro. Matt Z, what was on your list, bud?
All right, so I got kind of like you guys, I got two. So the first one is new technology, and I lumped new tooling into this last minute as you guys were talking. I lumped it together just because, again, you got new items that come out, new tooling like Lionel. The big thing nowadays is, what new to them engine are they going to get from MTH or some other brand? New locomotive, whatever it be. That's really interesting to see that and see what comes out of that. Them putting legacy in their new engines like the Greenbriers and L1s and RS27s and all that sort of thing. It's all really, really cool. And the other one is obviously new tech. So, Vision Line and like the Brass Hybrid program and other things that, that really push the envelope as far as new features go. Like in the early Vision lines, you see like all your different smoke features and all these really cool things, the swing bell and just features that are really, really cool and that are never before seen until that point when they're announced, which I think is really cool. Then another one that I have, and maybe this is a pro, maybe it's middle of the road, maybe I have no idea, but it's the built to order program that a lot of manufacturers rather are doing. So whether it's MTH or Atlas or Lionel or whoever, they basically all work off the built to order program. And by that, I mean, you have the catalog when it comes out, then you have usually a certain amount of time, usually a month and a half or so, to place your order with the dealer to guarantee that you get the item or items that you're interested in. If you don't, you run the risk of not being able to get the items because they may have sold out by the time you get around to buying them. So if you do the built to order, it'll allow you to get the items you want when you want them, which I think is really cool.
What were you guys, if I told you each of you could only pick one and that's the one that means the most to you with buying new, what would you guys say? And Johnny, I'll have you go first.
That's a hard one. I was going to go on the point that you brought up, the re-releases. I think that's really important to keep in mind, because with this hobby, a lot of it is, and Matt Z can definitely attest to this because he and I do this all the time in voice calls. You reminisce about a model that came out so many years ago, and you wish that you were either had the money for it at the time or were aware it was out at the time, and you want to get it. And sometimes it's easy to find that model on eBay or on a third-party seller site, and you can sometimes find it, but there are ones that you just cannot find anywhere. And once an item is re-released, it gives you an opportunity to be able to grab it the second time, so you don't feel like you missed out. And sometimes when an item is re-released, there's actually an improvement done on it as well. An item that both Matt Z and I share, is the Milwaukee Road S3. I have the first gen release, and I think, Matt, do you have the second gen release? I can't remember.
Yeah, I got the one from 2017, and they're the same, and yet they're different, and you can keep going with it, but they are different to an extent.
Exactly. Like yours has, if mine was pretty good. I like my generation of it. It's a pretty robust engine. I like it a lot. But there's things like, for example, the smoke the smoke filler area was the pipe wasn't directly centered on the smokestack. So if you want to fill it up with a little funnel, you had to like kink it to the side a little bit. With the second gen release, they fixed that. It's centered. So there's small improvements, plus the addition of, I believe, Bluetooth as well, and they changed the crew talk to make it a little bit more fitting. It gives you the opportunity to be able to get a new version of the model, and sometimes it's even improved. So maybe some people may prefer the first gen to the second gen, but either way, at least you get the engine. So I think that's a big part for me when it comes to buying new. How about you, Matt Z? I'll pass it to you.
All right. I'm going to go with another one that they used to add as a warranty. And, I think as we go through this, I'm sure we'll think of things to add to the list, but definitely a warranty. I did not think of that. I just was thinking things off the top of my head when I was making this. And yeah, a warranty is huge. I mean, especially these days with less than adequate is what I'll use quality control with some manufacturers. Not going to name names, but it's a good idea to have a warranty should an item be broken or not working correctly the way you A, expect it to, or B, should be a standard of that particular brand. A warranty is good to have because you can get the item fixed, usually no questions asked. You show the receipt or wherever you got it from or whatever. They take the bill and you get it fixed or you get a replacement or whatever the case is, and you're all a happy customer. And that's really, really important and very good to have, especially when you're spending, some of these bigger steam engines, they're $2,000 plus, not cheap. So it's good to have a warranty for sure.
Yeah, I'm the same way. So if I ask myself the same question, warranty is definitely at the top of my list because look, I mean, you're spending a lot of money here, you buy a new car, you expect there to be a warranty. You buy a new TV, you expect there to be a warranty. Same thing with a train engine. You buy a train engine, a brand new trained engine, the thing better have a warranty because, things happen. All right, let's move on to the cons of buying new, and I'll actually start this out. I have. With a lot of exclamation points after it, the word expensive. So I think that really sums up a lot of the con of buying new because, yes, the new engines are very expensive. And unfortunately, it's only been moving up as far as price points go when it comes to buying engines. Although there are some good deals out there. There are some... like the little 060T that came out a couple years ago. So you can find really good. I'm not saying that there's not value engines out there, but there are definitely a lot of engines with a huge price tag on them. Second one is probably this is kind of funny because it kind of goes with you talking about the S3, Johnny, is that. Well, one of the cons for buying new is that there could be new issues or untested tooling, right? They got this new feature and this new feature is awesome. And then new features, I think, could be a pro and a con because, being a pro, sure, it's awesome. It's a new feature. We've never seen it before. But unfortunately, the con here is that feature maybe doesn't work very well, or maybe it just has an issue with it. So you got to be careful there. I mean, you never know, but it is something to look out for. And then the last one on my list is, well, it might not be what you expected, right? So if you buy something new, if there's no reviews out there, if there are no photos out there of it, they're all like mock-ups, right? Computer mock-ups. And you're kind of like, well, I hope this thing turns out okay, or I hope the colors are okay. So, sometimes it's a potluck, right? Like you never know what you're gonna get. So it's like a box of chocolates.
I like chocolate.
You got anchovy chocolate, and that's it.
Okay.
Ugh. Ugh.
Have you ever run across America, Matt?
No.
Okay, just checking something. All right.
Alrighty. I got two cons again, and first one is very similar to Matt, and it's price. Yeah, like I said, we all know that these things are not getting any cheaper, and maybe there's a chance to buy an older piece, and I'm sure we'll talk about this later. That there may be an older engine that is a few years older that gives you basically everything you want with a lower price tag, and that's something to think about. And then another one I have is competition. And by this, and you'll hear me talk about this later, as I have this on another section that I'll talk about when we get to it. But by competition in this sense, I mean, let's say you have back in the early 2000s when you had like MTH and Lionel making the same engine. Let's take the Dreyfuss Hudson, for example, just because that one comes to mind. I believe they were in the same catalog or like a catalog before or after, whatever it is. And you see this more modern times too. But, the fact is that, if you want Proto Sound or Legacy or TMCC or whatever the timing is, your chances to buy it from manufacturer A versus manufacturer B could play into it. Let's say MTH releases an engine that you want, but then a catalog or two later, Lionel or whoever releases the same engine that you want with their set of command systems. So let's say MTH releases the Dreyfuss Hudson with Proto 2. Then Lionel releases the Dreyfuss Hudson with TMCC. You'd rather have TMCC over Proto 2. So, it's like, well, do I buy the Proto 2 and convert it, or what do I do? So maybe that's something to think about when you're buying new is, should I wait and see what the other manufacturers do before I say yes or no? I don't know. That's maybe that's up for a debate. It's probably a good poll question, to be honest with you.
So I'll take over the mic from Matt here and throw in my couple of bits here. I basically the same thing as you guys, but the couple that you guys didn't mention that kind of stand out for me. One of them is returns. The warranty's great, but having to send your item back if it's not great and has teething troubles definitely is not fun, because you've waited like a whole year for the item. When it finally comes in, if it's not perfect, then you have to send it back, and sometimes there's QA issues with getting it back as well, or the shipping could have a hand in that, and you run the risk of maybe something coming back worse than when you sent it off. But that's a risk that comes along with it. Definitely not meeting expectations when I agree with you guys there. It's kind of hard to base it off of just the catalog images alone, because they are just renders and concept photos, and things don't always end up the exact way that they appear in the catalog. I remember I was really big fan of the Reading T1s when they came out from Lionel. I really liked the Conrail one with the really dark blue, but even though they came out still amazing engines and they're great, they came out with a very bright Conrail blue, which I wasn't too big of a fan of. So I didn't order it, so it wasn't a big deal for me, but shows an example of catalog image and actual reality is definitely one that you have to be mindful of. And kind of going along with that, one of mine that I settled on was sounds. I'm a very big sound guy. If an engine doesn't sound right, it would cause me to like it or hate it. And with a catalog, unfortunately, you just can't get an idea of what it sounds like. And usually that doesn't happen until much later in the build process when they do actually have the sound set. And who knows, you could buy an engine you're really excited for, and every whistle or bell that's in there, or horn or bell, you might not like. And that could be a big detractor. And then the last one is, as I mentioned before, there's a long wait. You place a pre-order and you're really super hyped, but then you gotta wait a whole year for the item to come through. So that's just you waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And when it finally shows up, you might have moved on to a different item. You might have decided that you wanted something else, or you're just no longer excited for it. So And that, that just comes with it. The items take time to be made and manufactured, and they need to get an idea of how many people actually want it before they build it. So, but yeah, those would be mine.
That's actually a really good point, Johnny. I actually never thought about that. Is that's something I didn't think about, is that you're right. Like, one of the cons is that you can't have that instant gratification like you can with used, right? You see something used, you could probably buy it and have it in, the next day, or at least within a few days. Whereas you buy something new and it's like, all right, well, how many birthdays am I going to have before I get this engine? Right. So, and I think you actually answered my one that I would probably put at the top of the list, is that it's probably the waiting game. Unfortunately, we live in a society of instant gratification now. So if I can't have it in 5 minutes, it's not worth it, right? So, but Matt and Johnny, what do you guys think is like something you would put on the top of your own personal list as far as a con goes?
Johnny, you go first. Sure,
I'll take the lead on this one. Honestly, I think the one that really does it for me, it's a tie between sounds and probably potential, sounds and just it not meeting your expectations. Like I said, I'm just a big sound guy. If the train doesn't sound how I want it to sound, then I'll pass up on it. Sometimes when I'm really glad that Lionel has the new 5 bell, 5 whistles thing, and that's great. But what if you just don't like any of them? It's a big if, but it's an if that can make or break an engine for me. I really wish Lionel would do what they did previously with some catalogs, online catalogs, that is. With some of the online catalogs, with the Line Chief sets, they actually let you listen to the sounds that are on that set. And I thought that was really cool. And I would really love it if Lionel would do that for their future catalogs, for their online versions. So folks who are really that curious of what they're going to sound like can hear those sounds. Now, I do know that's something that's done later in the process, so they don't necessarily know what they're going to sound like when they're announced. But it'd be a cool feature and something I'd love to see added, and would, I think, help the customer experience a lot more. But that's just wishful thinking on my part. But hey, Ryan, I know you listen to us from time to time. Maybe we could get that, please and thank you. But but that's my thing. How about you guys? I'll pass it back over to you guys.
I'll agree with really what all you guys said, but definitely the waiting time is one thing. Even with used stuff, I want it in 5 minutes, and if I don't get it, by the time honestly, there's some items I'll get from anybody, and I'm not trying to single anybody out, but it's like, if when I buy something, it's like I want it then and there, and if I don't get it within a reasonable time frame, I'm not even gonna want it by the time I get it. And so I think with buying new, you got to wait that year and a half. Hell, sometimes your item even gets canceled. You know what I mean? And then you're out, an engine, something maybe that you really wanted, but can't get made and won't get made. And then you have to go to the, well, how can I find it now kind of deal. So that's my thoughts on that.
So just to kind of like wrap it up, Johnny, you're sound biased, and Matt, you're an impatient millennial. So is that sound about right?
Boomer, get it right.
Okay, you're right. You're a millennial, and you're like a I don't know, a millennial.
I don't know. Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Yeah, those two words don't really go together very well. I couldn't think of any kind of like mix of those two words at all. I'm like, how would I even say this? So
on the way, I'll give it to you.
All right. No, it was very, very interesting to hear what you guys were saying about that, and you guys had brought up some things that I didn't even think about either, which is kind of cool. Which is why we're here doing these lists, because I want to hear what other people think as well when it comes to like buying new and used. So very, very, very interesting. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the used section. Good segue there. And Matt Z, I'm going to have you, since you haven't gone first yet, I'm going to have you tell us your used pros. So buying used, what are the pros for you?
All right, so I got two, and they're kind of hand in hand. So I'm going to list them both and then talk about them. So my first one is value, and my second one is cost. So let's say you buy a piece from somewhere, eBay, Trainz.com, or wherever you like to buy your trains from, and you get an item that you thought was a good price, and it turns out that you get value into that item, whatever it is. Let's say you buy a used engine for a project or whatever, and that engine turns out to be better than you thought it would. I actually had this happen to me not too long ago. I bought a RS1 that the guy said it was Protosound 1, and I looked at the thing, it had the PS2 sticker on it. I looked up the item number, it was Proto 2, whatever, and so I'm like, okay, and it was a good price. So I'm like, all right, I'll take the gamble. Maybe he doesn't know what he has. This happens from time to time, So I got it. Of course, it was Proto 2. And so I'm like, all right, cool. So I got it for a good price, and I got more than I was expecting. So I definitely really like that. And that's kind of my spiel on that. So, Matt, go ahead.
Yeah, so the ones I have kind of match a little bit with your saying, Matt. So I had inexpensive and easy to find deals, right? Like there's all kinds of deals out there you can find on used stuff. I mean, sometimes you get a fair price. Sometimes you pay a little bit more, than what you wanted because maybe it's a rare engine. And sometimes you just get like the sickest deal you ever found, right? And my second bullet on this was, you'll find models that aren't being made new, or perhaps the tooling is lost on it. And you're kind of like, well, they're probably never going to make this new. And I found something, it's used, but, it's definitely something that I've always wanted. So, it's, you get a chance to buy stuff that might not ever be made new again. And then the last item on my list is just the huge amount of variety out there for used, right? I mean, there's just everything you can think of under the sun. I'll give an example of Trainz.com, right? They just like, you go type in Santa Fe on Trainz.com and it's just like, holy moly, like everything you could think of under the sun, engines, rolling stock, all kinds of buildings. And, the same can be said for, some of the other places as well, like Facebook Marketplace and eBay. Like, if you're looking if you type in a very popular railroad, there is just so much available. And it's really, really awesome that, that's there, because sometimes you could just find all of these, these lost, lost arcs out there. You're able to pick them up and find them. Johnny, how about yourself, man?
So I really agree with the ones you guys have had. Definitely, for sure, for all those. I think I went a little bit different from you guys, but this is one that I think we already touched upon when it came to us talking about buying new. So with buying stuff used, usually they're more broken in. So any teething troubles are usually sorted out by then. And you doing your research, which ones are ones that are proven to work, and which ones were lemons, unfortunately, as it is with anything. Which ones are good runners, which ones are solid, and you can do your research and find that pretty easily. And you know what you're usually getting when it comes to specific models in general. For example, for me, like I said, I'm a sound guy. So if I know if I like this engine or not, you can usually look it up on YouTube and you can watch a video of it and see what it sounds like. If you like the sound set, buy. You can be like, yeah, I want this engine. You buy it. Another thing that's great about buying stuff used, and this goes for both going through eBay, going through Trainz, or heck, even going to train shows in York, for example. There's the excitement of the hunt. You don't know what you're going to get. You don't know. You may have an item in mind, but sometimes you scroll through your your eBay listings, and just that one item shows up, you're like, oh my god, I need to get it. There's the excitement of the hunt. I know Matt wants to say something here, so I'll let him cut in for a moment here.
Yeah, you with your sound files. Yeah, there's a MTH engine that you don't like the sound file, and you just got to ask me or one of our sound guys, and we can hook you up.
Exactly.
Just throwing it out there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, you can always with MTH engines, you can always modify them too. And you don't feel as bad modifying a brand new. You don't feel as bad modifying an older used engine and like one that just came out of the factory. Another one that that you don't usually think about. You can buy stuff separate sale. People break up sets all the time. Let's say you're looking for a specific car or a specific engine. You can buy something separate sale and save yourself the cash there, which is really nice for folks who want to like make a mixed train, or let's say you want to find a specific accessory from a set, or you, for example, take my 2696 Berkshire. That was from a giant set, and that was a breakup from a set, and I just got the engine itself. So it gives you more diversity with what you can get, and let's kind of cherry pick what you really want. And then the last one is you can do it for projects, as Matt discussed earlier. You can buy an engine cheap and go from there and be able to turn it into something better and not have to worry about, I paid too much for this, so I can't do anything to it. If you buy an engine like a Proto 1, for example, for really cheap, you could always upgrade it. And usually, as time goes on, sometimes some items, they go down in value. So it makes them a lot more accessible and more affordable for folks who couldn't afford them when they first came out, but can afford them now since the technology's changed and the market's changed. But yeah, those are mine. I'll open up to the floor. I'll actually give it to Matt R. Matt R., what is the number one for you when it comes to buying used for a pro?
You guys had some awesome points out there, and it's hard to kind of like pick one, but I think I have to go with cost, right? I agree with you that modification and putting your own, being able to put your own sound file without worrying about it is true. Now that only works for both manufacturers. Technically, one is way harder than the other and more costly, but I don't know. It's just something about like being able to find a good deal, and this industry or this hobby is already like really expensive. And when you could bring that cost down, like you can really find some great deals. And I think this is probably something that a lot of parents, hopefully that we have new folks out there, or maybe there's some new parents out there that are listening to this podcast, that you might want to consider going the used route if you're trying to get one of your children or multiple children or you and your children into O-scale model railroading. Is go find a used set. You can find sets for used prices. That way you can try it and not have to worry about sinking in a whole bunch of money that, I bought my kid this new train and he spent 3 days on it and he's never touched it again. And now I'm out $400 when you probably could have spent half of that, in the used neighborhood. But for me, that was a lot of words to say, low price, but I wanted to get my point out there.
Low price, high words, right?
Correct.
All right, so for me again, it's your cost. I mean, you can't go wrong with buying used, especially when you find deals and gems and whatnot. On occasion you get those items that are higher than MSRP or whatever it be, but as a general rule, you do get a decent discount off of whatever the original price was, and then based off of condition and other factors, you can get a pretty good deal. And that's mainly why I shop around for used, just because I do like getting, a good deal on items, especially if I know I'm going to use them for a project, or maybe not intentionally keep them. Be like, oh, I've kind of wanted this engine for a while, but I'm not really sure now if the hype is still what it was, 5 years ago when I really wanted it. So maybe I'll try to go a little bit lower on the cost. So that way, when I go to sell it, I can at least break even or maybe make a few bucks. That'd be really cool. But that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, kind of round it off here. Yeah, I'm gonna echo the guys here. Price is definitely the biggest one for me. I with this, as you guys said, the hobby's expensive, and regardless of whatever scale you're in, not just O scale, and just buying stuff used really helps you get further in the hobby, especially if you know what you're looking for too. Like if you know what the going value for something in eBay is, and you find it for a good price, you can really take advantage of that. I think I would say, now that I think about it, I think technically only one engine in my collection is new. Everything else has been used. Everything has been, every other engine in my collection's used. And it's because of the affordable prices that I've been able to kind of get the items that I wanted. And if I tried to buy them all MSRP, I don't think I would have nearly as big of a collection as I do now. And again, the hunt of finding that engine or finding that car and finding it for a good price, you just feel good inside. You didn't overpay for it. You did your due diligence. You were fortunate enough to find it, and you secured it for yourself. It's just some kind of adrenaline rush from the hunt of it. So yeah, definitely agree to you guys with that. And then I think lastly, the biggest thing for me is also just knowing what you're getting, just being able to hear it or see it run on a YouTube video before you buy it. That's that visual confirmation that you know what you're getting, and then it shows up at your doorstep a week later. So yeah, that's mine. I'll throw it back to the floor in case anybody wants to do any opening or closing, closing remarks on this one.
Well, we still have to go down the used con list, but Matt Z, did you have something before we hit on that?
No, I'm good. Let's hit the cons.
So for our last category, buying used engines, but what are the cons? So my first one is, well, it's kind of the direct opposite of buying new, right? There's usually no warranty. You're usually buying them as is. Now, there is kind of an asterisk on that one because depending on who you buy it from, there can be a return window or, again, I'll bring up Trainz.com. Awesome return policy. If you get it, it doesn't work. Literally, they'll send you a label, throw it in a box, and you can send it back, get all your money back. And they'll depending on what level you're on, as far as like their club membership, you probably don't even have to pay for shipping at that point. So again, I'll plug Trainz.com again for their return policy on buying used stuff. Now, my second bullet here is, buying used, the item might be using older technology, right? So, maybe you were looking for that legacy model, or maybe you were looking for that Protosound 3 version, and the only thing out there was a TMCC or a PS1 or, a conventional model from Lionel. So, that's something to be aware of. And then could have paint marks, broken pieces, missing parts, right? Like, it may look good in photos, but then you get it, you're like, well, I didn't see this paint mark on the one side that they didn't show me. So, don't expect, puppy dogs and rainbows when you buy used stuff, because sometimes it's not what you expected. And then my last really quick bullet here is high mileage, right? You're not the first person to use this engine, right? If we're talking to engines, right? We're not talking rolling stock. As far as engines goes, engines go, you're not the first person to use it. There could be a lot of miles on that thing. Now, if it's a Protosound engine, you can usually go in and see the mileage. If it's a TMCC or legacy engine, who knows? I mean, it could have, who knows? It could have 1,000 scale miles on it. You wouldn't know it if the person, took care of it. But I mean, these are motors. They wear out. They're they don't last forever. You could get something that looks brand new, and you're like, this is new. This is great. This is used, but it looks new and it's been taken care of. You run it on the track 3 times and then it dies, and you're like, what the heck happened? So, buyer beware. Just a couple of little things to look out for. Johnny, I'll go ahead and pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Matt. So, I definitely agree with you there. High mileage, and you kind of don't know what you're kind of getting there. The old tech is definitely one that you have to be wary of. Just because it says TMCC doesn't mean it's the same TMCC as you're used to in a factory line out locomotive. Could be, ERR upgrade, which is good, but can vary sometimes, or the older EOB boards. Those have a tendency to not be at the same par as standard TMCC. So it's one of those things you got to be aware of. Plus, like, you have to worry about things like maybe an engine doesn't have cruise. Maybe you've only had engines with cruise, and you buy like a K-line engine that doesn't have cruise. Can completely throw you off there. So you kind of have to do your research for stuff like that. Items can come broken or be missing parts. You could have a handrail that's knocked off, or you could have like a sunshade that broke off, for example, or missing number boards. That stuff can kind of make it or break it for people, and they can also get damaged during shipping, depending on who you buy from, like especially from like independent sellers on eBay. Not everybody ships the same way. Not everybody has the same level of quality when it comes to shipping and packaging. Like, in fact, the engine I traded Matt recently. That one is my favorite example. That engine was put in a box that was held together not by tape, but by the fragile stickers that the shipping service put on the box. And when I did get it, there was the smallest layer of bubble wrap. The engine was loose, rattling inside the box, and there was a hole in it. I could stick my hand inside the side of the box and touch the engine. Now, I bought multiple items from eBay without boxes, or from Trainz without boxes, and 99% of the time, it's fine. Most folks are competent, but it can be that 1% chance that can be scary for some folks. And I was lucky. That engine that I traded Matt was perfectly fine. And nothing I couldn't fix if it did come off, and it was good. But, you gotta be wary of that. And there's some sellers you have to be careful of when you buy used or secondhand. Sometimes they're not as safe as you'd think they would be. Not everybody is transparent when they sell stuff. Maybe they try to hide something, or maybe they ship you the completely wrong item, or they just don't even have the item. You have to do your research, have to ask around, or sometimes just double check to verify that they're a verified seller. I know the guys here have done an episode on tips to buying used. So if you are worried, or you're new to the world of buying stuff used, definitely check out the episode on buying used Trainz. But yeah, it's one of those things where if I had to sum it up, do your research first before you hit buy. You can get some great deals, great engines, but if you don't do your research, it can bite you in the tuchus. So either do that or buy from a safe seller like Trainz, for example. And this isn't just because we're with them. All 3 of us have bought from Trainz a lot, even before we worked with them. So, and we've had nothing but good experiences with the guys there. But enough of me singing the praises of Trainz here. I'll move it on to I'll pass the mic over to Matt Z.
Yeah, I completely agree. And real quick on your boxes, I know I'm Mr. Box and all that, but seriously, it is that one time, that 1% chance that does scare me with no boxes, and it's that one time that keeps playing in my head that I've seen it happen, and I've seen people getting all PO'd about it, and for good reason. That's enough to scare me away. I need a box, and that's the end of the story with an engine. For cars and rolling stock and passenger car. I mean, I ideally prefer it, but it would kill me if it didn't have it. But that just that's just my thinking on that is for engines, I won't even touch it if it doesn't have a box, unless it's for a project, which is what I did with that RS one. That didn't come with the box, but you know what? For a board, I really didn't care. But anyway, my first one is my biggest pet peeve with any auction site, eBay, heck, even Trainz. Any place that has the same item for anybody is competition with other buyers. And, you all know it. You go look for something, somebody snags it, or you're on an auction and somebody's bidding against you. You got a second left and you put in your bid and then somebody else bids higher. The last second, you didn't even see it, but you didn't even win the item. That to me just annoys me. One of the things I think with buying new that I did not mention is, when you buy new, you have your chance to get it. You don't have to fight with somebody to buy the item that you want. It's right there. Everybody's going to get the same thing, when you buy it, and that's just, it's the way it should be. You don't have to fight. You don't have to, oh, great, I didn't get this engine. Somebody else on the other side of the US or even the world got this engine instead of me or whatever it is. That's just the way it is. It does happen, unfortunately. That's just the way life goes, I guess. And the other one is descriptions based off of what, like what Matt and Johnny said. With used, you do really have to do your research. There can be, that unfortunate person that does not list their items accurately and may give you pieces that are not what you expect them to be, or based on quality of photos and all this sort of thing. And you do got to be careful with that. It doesn't happen often, but when it does, it is very widely known, and it is not something that just goes unheard. You'll hear about it. You'll hear a review from somebody or whatever, a bad experience. And it does turn, I'm sure, the buyer that bought said item from said person. And I'm sure other people look at that and think, well, I'm not going to deal with this guy because he's not honest. And, honesty is the best policy. And, if the engine or whatever doesn't work, or is, for parts or whatever the thing is, list it. I'd much rather have a be honest than a, oh, great, this isn't what I was expecting deal, and get PO'd and then have to return it. And some people even, get mad about returning things. And, that to me, just, you shouldn't have to deal with that. If there's something wrong, you should be able to return it, maybe with a few questions, but generally speaking, you got a problem, here's your money back, send it back. Or some cases, an extreme example, you may get, here's your money, keep the item. That does happen from time to time. And I think that that's something you really got to take into account is, your descriptions. Doesn't happen all the time, but the few times it does, it goes noticed for sure.
Yeah, I think both your points are, all our points tonight were fantastic on the cons, at least on, as far as the cons go in this discussion. I think for me, though, like the one thing that stands out for me with the cons is it's a gamble, right? You're putting quarters in a machine and you're pulling that handle and you're just like hoping like you get it and you open the box and it looks fantastic and you're like, all right, well, hoping I put this on the track, this thing is going to move, and then when it does and it starts up and you hear the sounds, you're kind of like, oh, thank goodness. But when it doesn't, you're just kind of like deflated. You're like, oh. But, again, well, that same kind of scenario could happen with new too. But I'll digress. I'm not going to, we won't go down that route. But how about you two? Like, what would you put like as your number one thing?
I'd have to go, honestly. I know I just prefaced about, returning and whatnot, but probably, your warranty, in the few times that you do need it, you don't have it in some cases. When you're dealing with people who may not be into Trainz, or people who just want to get rid of the things and don't want to see them again, that's when it gets kind of hairy. And, to have a return policy of some kind or another it's just good business practice, whether you're a business or whether you're just an individual selling Trainz. And, we talked about this in our selling episode number, probably that was like one of our first ones, I think, that we did. But yeah, your returns is, when you need it, it should be there. And if it's not that does go noticed, like I said.
I'm going to tack on two that I thought of while Matt Z was talking about his points earlier. Um, one of the things you have to be aware of, especially when it comes to eBay, prices fluctuate. And unfortunately, there are folks who will artificially increase the price. Now, one of the best examples of that is the legacy scale Polar Express. I remember when this happened. There were two individuals who listed an item and they listed the listing Berkshire, and they go for maybe like I think it was like $1,600, $1,800 at the time. One person listed it for $99,000 and one for $9,000. And obviously they didn't go for that much. No one bought that. No one in the right mind would spend that much. But unfortunately, people will look on eBay and try to use that as who aren't very knowledgeable about the secondhand market, and will see that as, oh, this is what they sold for. That's what they're worth. And it will drive some of the prices skyrocket like crazy. And it's an unfortunate part that the market will fluctuate, but that's with any secondhand market. So that's something that will happen. Another one that I know Matt Z hates with a passion. If you buy from an auction site, sometimes not outside of eBay, buyer's fees, auction fees, those can really get you. Yeah, so they can really get you, and you think you're getting a good price, but you get with a kicker in the end, and maybe you're paying more than you want to pay for it. So, but those are two that I thought of. But for me, really, what is the kicker for buying used that does scare me is definitely you have to be careful. Again, yeah, it's a gamble, like Matt said. You don't know what you're necessarily getting. Sometimes if you buy from a reputable source, it's fine. But if it's like a sketchy buyer or someone who doesn't have great feedback on their eBay page, yeah, you're taking that gamble. If you may be paying a really cheap price, but maybe you're getting a piece of getting a paperweight when you get it. But yeah, this is always scary when you buy from something like that and it arrives and you don't know for sure. That's why I'm not allowed to stand next to Matt R when he unboxes things, because apparently when I stand next to him, his engines don't usually work when he unboxes them for the first time if I'm standing around.
This is a fact.
The Johnny effect.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's mine. I'll pass it over to you guys here once again.
I agree. Real quick on the auction thing. Yeah. I look at some of these auction sites, that are not eBay, like, your third party auction sites that do Trainz. And you do look at that. You look at that, some of these fees are 19, 20% of whatever the price is. Plus, if you're in the state, you got to pay tax. When you're into that extra price, and shipping. So you're paying basically almost two of those three, or maybe all of those three things, plus the price of the model. By that point, it's like, is it really worth it? The answer sometimes is no. And that just does kind of blow people away. And it's just too bad. But that's all I got on this. I'm all set.
Yeah. So this was fantastic discussions, gentlemen. One last thing I wanted to bring up is just kind of overall, like, buying new and used. So when I first started, or when I came back into O-scale model railroading, I was very, very focused on buying new. Like, I was only buying new, right? And I think a lot of that has to do with not having enough knowledge to be able to like fix small things or fix things if I did buy them used and they came not functioning, and just kind of the lack of experience with like pricing and stuff like that. So I think and maybe other folks have fallen into this same kind of scenario, is that maybe when you came back, you were very much focused on new, but then over time, as you built up like your own knowledge, your own experiences, your ability to do quick fixes or spot issues if a used train does come, you're like, oh, okay, I've seen that before. Yeah, I know how to fix that. Maybe that's kind of how you were too, because like nowadays, like I'm very much over 90% used market. Like I buy pretty much everything I buy is pretty much used. I do buy new, but it is a very, very small percentage of what I buy now. And really quickly, what do you guys think about that?
I'll go first here. When it comes to buying new and used, they both have their advantages and disadvantages, as we've discussed. I remember being a kid in the hobby before I returned, looking at MSRP prices are daunting. They can definitely dissuade you from wanting to buy more items, or you think that stuff like that is unreachable to you. And when I return to the hobby, I am mostly like 99% of the time I buy used. It's just more affordable, and sometimes you just want to get items that you were nostalgic for when you were younger in the hobby. A lot of the engines I bought now are items I saw on YouTube and I really wanted. The GS2, the FEF, the S3, the Berkshires. Staples of items from my childhood that I saw other folks have. And buying used is the way to get them. You could always wait for the next re-release, but there's no guarantee on when or if they still have the tooling to redo them. So I know we ended on like more of a negative note for the cons for buying used, but I am a strong supporter of buying used Trainz. It keeps the hobby alive. It keeps Trainz. It keeps them loved. Sometimes they need to move on from a collection to a new collection. You give them a new home, and they're enjoyed by another owner. So definitely a strong supporter of used Trainz and supporter of new Trainz as well. Keep the hobby going. Keep your local hobby shop going, and keep the manufacturers in business as well. Good thing to buy from them from time to time. But I will throw the mic over to Matt Z.
Yeah, it's a +1 with basically what you said, and Johnny and Matt. That buying used, for nostalgia purposes, for cost, for whatever the case is, it's almost a better thing in the long run, just because you get the items that you like, for a good price, and what's a good value to you, kind of some of the things I spoke about. Just a better thing overall, at least in my opinion. It said new stuff too, don't get me wrong, new stuff is great. I'll forever be love the new catalogs, and they're always a lot of fun and whatever. But I think that buying used is something that, if you haven't tried, give it a shot. It's something that I think you'll find that it's a lot less painful and scary than you think it is. And if you got questions, by all means, reach out to us, reach out to the Discord. You look at that buy and sell on the Discord. It's links. It's people asking questions about, what do you think of this? Should I buy this? Should I not? What's the deal? All that sort of thing. And it just, you do your research and you ask questions, and the process is pretty simple. And I think it's a better idea, but these are just three men's opinion on this thing. You and your friends may have a different opinion, and you know what? That's perfectly fine. By all means, go ahead. It's all cool.
Yeah, so I think what I would like folks to do is, if you can, and obviously Discord is the best place for this, but after you listen to this, head over into our Discord or send us an email, or even in a review or something. Let us know what your pros and cons are for buying new and buying used. We're interested in what, everyone thinks about, your, opinions on like what your purchasing habits. What's a pro, what's a con for you? What do you find yourself buying more, new or used? Go ahead, Johnny.
I'm actually going to propose a question to our Discord folks here. Those are in the Discord are familiar that whenever I get bored of work, I'll ask you a question, and we tend to share stuff about our collection. So based on today's topic, if you guys want to throw this in let's do your layout and collections like we always do. Let's do in that channel.
Sure.
What is your best used item purchase? What is your best new item purchase? I'd love to see that and I'll ask it again once the episode gets officially uploaded here, but I like to see that. Let us know in the Your Layouts and Collections channel. I'm actually really curious about that.
It's a great question, Johnny.
Thank you, Matt.
Yeah,
or
that's
great
good.
questions, I should say. All right. Well, I think that wraps about up. We're just over an hour here in time. Again, I'll just put a last minute flag up to see if Johnny or Matt have anything else. Otherwise, we can just wrap up this episode.
Speak now, forever hold your peace. Is that what you're saying?
Yep.
No, I'm good. I really enjoyed this one. I think, doing these, discussion topics and, lists like we do, and, like we did the train set one a little ways back, and that was fun. This was fun. Doing things like this that kind of get you thinking. You think of things that, you didn't originally think of when you made the list, and whatever, it happened to all three of us tonight. It's obvious. These are a lot of fun. I think we should definitely do more of these for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I enjoyed myself here tonight. A lot of great discussion, a lot of great points, and I'm curious on what folks will say in the Discord server.
Yeah, and moving forward, like Matt said, like this is the kind of format that we want to do. Like, we would like to do one interview and one discussion per month. We know some folks, don't interviews may not be their cup of tea. And some folks might like the interviews. For us, we like doing interviews, but we also want to go back to our roots as well, and have our normal discussions like this. And we have a bunch of topics coming up. And one more thing on the Discord thing is, if you have something that would be a good topic for us to discuss, please join the Discord. And put it in the we have a couple of different channels in there. Do we have a channel for suggestions? We do have a suggestion channel.
Yeah,
so,
okay. That's kind of what we use it for, is for something like that. Yeah. So yeah, we got one.
Yep.
Yeah. So join the Discord, plug in your suggestion. Let us know what you want to hear from us. Again, we're always looking for feedback from everybody on this. We want to make this show for you, the model railroader, specifically the O-scale model railroader, but obviously, anybody who's into model railroading of any kind is very welcome to, listen into the podcast. I mean, good example is this discussion tonight. This isn't, this doesn't technically pinpoint only O-scale. Like buying new and buying used is across all scales, from Z scale all the way to, G scale, or whatever the 1/G scale is. I don't even know what that is. So heck, it could even go all the way up to actual engines, right? Are you
where's my real life 060T? I'm waiting for my eBay listing.
Are you going to buy one new or used?
It's in Strasbourg, PA.
Strasbourg, PA. That one's been modified. I think that one's very much used.
Well, then there you go. That answers your question, doesn't it?
All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks for making this an awesome episode tonight. And let's just go ahead and wrap this up. Johnny, where can people find you on social media?
You can find me at Audamus on YouTube. That's AUDAMUS. You'll find me there occasionally uploading videos, but usually I'm screaming at inanimate objects and getting hit in the face by a box. You can also find me on Instagram at Audamus_Trainz. I've been posting a lot of photos of my collection and my layout progress. So if you're interested in seeing those pictures that Matt was talking about during the podcast, you can see those there, and also on Facebook as well. Last but not least, you can also find me on the Matt and Matt O-scale podcast Discord. I usually post questions whenever I'm bored in the layout and collections chat. So if you want to join in the discussion or hear the Matts and I talk to each other and make jokes in the voice chats, please find us there. But join in. It's a fun time.
Matt Z, how about you, sir?
You can find me on YouTube under Matt-TrainLover9943. You can also find me on Facebook under the same name, Instagram as Matts.hobbies, and also on the Matt Discord server. As we mentioned before, editing sound sets, talking trains, new, used, whatever it is, having a good old time. So definitely join it there. That's all I got.
And you can find me on YouTube at West Chicago Model Railroad. I'm on Facebook and under the same name. And then I'm on Instagram under WCMRR. And like the two other gents, I'm also on Discord, talking to folks, posting photos, just having a good time interacting with people in the model railroading industry. And it's a blast and I enjoy it. So one last thing, folks, don't forget, we do this podcast for you, and we would really appreciate any feedback. If you can leave a review on whatever, podcasting application you're using, if there's a way to leave feedback, we would really, really appreciate it. Helps the podcast, lets us know that you're listening, and we want to make improvements. We want to make sure this is the the best O-scale, podcast out there, which it is because it's technically the only one out there. But we'll keep riding that wave until another one pops up. So with that said, everybody have a wonderful night.
Take good care.
Take care, everyone.
You can find me on YouTube. Oh my God. I just found a set of K-Mod passenger cars on Trainz. Oh God, that's nice. I swear to God.
Put that at the end, really please.
Cool. Yes, please.
To prove that he does buy things used.
Yes.
Wow. It's in there. I won't remove it.
Okay, good. What are these? These are okay. Anyway,
I'll put it at the end of the blooper reel.
Put all of this in here. All right.
Sure.
Oh.